I will never forget the moment my wife said, "You drove me to this. Michael, you are so needy and suffocating that I needed to find someone who actually appreciates me for who I am." When I asked her to text me that she arrived safely, that moment changed everything I thought I knew about our marriage. I am Michael, 34 years old, and I have been married to Rebecca for 9 years. We have 2 amazing kids, Emma, who is 8, and Jake, who is 6. I used to work as a software engineer, but 3 years ago we decided it made more sense for me to stay home since Rebecca's career as a sales manager was really taking off and she was earning about 3 times my salary. Being a stay-at-home dad has been the most rewarding job I have ever had. I handle everything on the home front, getting the kids ready for school, packing lunches, homework help, doctor appointments, grocery shopping, meal planning, and all the scheduling that keeps our family running smoothly. Rebecca travels frequently for work, usually 2 to 3 days per week visiting clients across the Midwest. We have always had this simple safety arrangement that seemed completely normal to me. When Rebecca travels for work, she sends me a quick text when she arrives at her destination and another when she is heading home. Nothing elaborate, just basic courtesy so I know she made it safely and can plan accordingly with the kids. This system worked perfectly for years. Rebecca would text without me even asking. Usually something like, "Made it to Detroit. Meeting starts at 2 or heading home now. Should be there by 8. It gave me peace of mind and helped me coordinate dinner plans or bedtime routines with the children. But about 4 months ago, something started to change. Rebecca began forgetting to send these safety texts more and more frequently. When I would call to check if she had arrived safely, her responses became increasingly defensive. 3 weeks ago, Rebecca had a client meeting scheduled in Indianapolis. Her flight was supposed to land at 3 p.m., but by 8 p.m. I had not heard anything from her. I was starting to worry that something might have happened. So I called her cell phone. "Oh my God, Michael. I am fine," she said when she finally answered. "I just got caught up in client dinners and networking. You do not need to track my every movement." I tried to explain that I was not tracking her movements, just wanted to know she was safe. "It is the same consideration I would want if Emma or Jake were traveling somewhere," I said. "Just a quick message so I know nothing bad happened." "That is completely different. They are children," Rebecca replied sharply. "I am a grown woman who can take care of herself without checking in like some teenager." What Rebecca did not realize was that her defensive reaction to such a simple request was about to unravel everything I believed about our relationship. Last weekend provided the breaking point that would change our marriage forever. Rebecca told me she had a client presentation in Chicago on Friday and would be back Saturday evening. Saturday night came and went with no communication. Sunday morning arrived with still no word from my wife. By 10 a.m. on Sunday, I was genuinely concerned and called her. "Where are you right now?" I asked when she finally picked up. "You said you would be home last night and the kids were asking for you." "Plans changed at the last minute," she said curtly. "The client wanted to extend our meetings through the weekend. I am driving back now and should be home this evening." "Okay, just let me know when you are getting close so I can have the kids ready to see you," I said. "They miss their mom." "Jesus, Michael. You are being so clingy lately," Rebecca snapped. "I will be home when I get home. I do not need to provide you with a minute-by-minute itinerary." She hung up on me, leaving me staring at my phone in confusion. Rebecca finally arrived home at 2:30 a.m. Monday morning. Instead of using her house key, she knocked on our bedroom window to wake me up. When I let her in through the front door, she immediately went on the defensive before I could even speak. "Before you say anything," she started, "I know you are going to lecture me about not texting, but I was completely exhausted and forgot." "I am not going to lecture you," I said quietly, trying not to wake the children. "I was just worried when you did not come home Saturday like you planned." "See, this is exactly what I mean," Rebecca said, her voice rising despite my attempts to keep things quiet. "You are being controlling, Michael. I should not have to check in with you like I am some teenager with a curfew." I stared at my wife, genuinely confused by her reaction. "Rebecca, I am not trying to control you. I just want to know you are safe. It is basic courtesy between married people." "No, it is controlling behavior," she insisted. "You want to know where I am every second of every day. It is suffocating, and I need space to breathe in this marriage." Little did I know that Rebecca's desperate need for space to breathe had nothing to do with my supposed controlling behavior and everything to do with what she was actually doing during those mysterious work trips. We ended up having our biggest fight in years, with Rebecca repeatedly using the word controlling, while I kept trying to explain that asking for basic safety communication was not the same as monitoring her every move. She eventually stormed off to our guest bedroom, claiming she needed time to think about whether she could handle being married to someone so possessive. I have been replaying this conversation in my head for 3 days now, and I honestly cannot understand how asking my wife to text when she arrived safely became evidence of controlling behavior. If my brother Dave was driving 3 hours to visit clients, I would want to know he made it there okay. Same with any friend or family member I care about. Am I actually being unreasonable here? Is requesting basic safety communication too much to ask in a marriage? Edit. For those asking about Rebecca's work schedule, she has been traveling more frequently lately, sometimes 4 days a week instead of her usual 2 to 3. The trips also seem to be lasting longer than they used to. Edit 2. Someone asked why I do not just track her phone location. That seems way more invasive than asking for a simple text message. We have never monitored each other's devices, and I do not want to start down that path. Edit 3. Multiple people are asking if this defensive behavior is new. The aggressive responses to my safety requests definitely started about 4 months ago. Before that, Rebecca used to text me arrival updates without me even asking. Update 1. I was not expecting the overwhelming response I received. Over 2,500 comments, and the thread is still active. Reading through all of your perspectives has been both validating and terrifying. First, thank you to everyone who took the time to share their thoughts and experiences. The consensus was clear. My requests for safety communication are completely normal and reasonable. Many of you shared that you automatically text your partners when traveling without even being asked, which made me realize how abnormal Rebecca's reaction has become. But what really caught my attention were the comments from men who had been through divorces. Multiple people shared eerily similar experiences with the same underlying message. When innocent requests start getting labeled as controlling behavior, there is usually something else going on that the person does not want you to discover. One comment in particular made my blood run cold. A user wrote, "My ex-wife started calling me possessive for asking about her day. Every question felt like an interrogation to her because she had to keep track of her lies. Turned out she had been having an affair for 8 months. I did not want to believe that comment could apply to my situation. But as I started paying closer attention to Rebecca's behavior patterns, some troubling details began clicking into place. Rebecca's work schedule has become dramatically more demanding over the past 6 months. She is staying late at the office almost every night, sometimes not getting home until 9 or 10 p.m. When I ask how her day went, she gives vague, dismissive answers, like just boring client stuff, or you would not understand the industry dynamics. Her phone habits have changed completely. Rebecca used to leave her device lying around the house, but now she takes it with her everywhere, including to the bathroom. When notifications come in and I happen to be nearby, she quickly grabs the phone and angles the screen away from me. Last month I noticed Rebecca had bought several new outfits, expensive, stylish clothes that were more fashionable than her typical work attire. When I complimented her on a dress I had never seen before, she immediately became defensive. "I am allowed to buy myself nice things without getting your approval first, Michael," she said sharply, which struck me as odd because I was not questioning her purchases, just saying she looked beautiful. My brother Dave drove up from Cleveland yesterday to help me install a new deck railing. After the kids went to bed, we sat on the back porch with a couple of beers and I ended up telling him about the Reddit post and Rebecca's increasingly hostile reactions to my controlling behavior. Dave was quiet for a long time, then looked at me seriously. "Mike, I hate to say this, but what you are describing sounds exactly like what happened with Sarah before our divorce." Dave's ex-wife had carried on an affair for nearly a year before he discovered it. He told me the pattern was identical. Normal questions and requests suddenly became evidence of possessive behavior. Work demands mysteriously increased, and she became defensive about everything. "The thing is," Dave explained, "when you are not doing anything wrong, innocent questions do not feel threatening. But when you are hiding something significant, Every conversation feels like you might get caught. What Dave did not know was that his words were about to set in motion a chain of discoveries that would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage. I have been thinking about that conversation constantly for the past week. I do not want to be the paranoid husband who assumes the worst about his wife, but I also cannot ignore the fact that Rebecca's behavior has changed so dramatically over the past several months. The Reddit responses helped me understand that my requests are not unreasonable. But now I am wondering what else I might be missing. If Rebecca is getting defensive about safety texts, what other areas of our relationship might not be what they appear to be? Edit. Several people are asking if I have confronted Rebecca directly about these behavior changes. I have not yet because I am honestly not sure how to bring up my suspicions without sounding paranoid or accusatory. Edit 2. Multiple commenters have suggested checking our detailed phone bill since we have a joint account. I never thought about examining the call logs because I usually just pay the bill without looking at the specifics. Edit 3. A lot of people are telling me to trust my instincts. My gut is telling me something is seriously wrong, but my logical mind keeps saying I might be overthinking the situation because of what anonymous Reddit users suggested. Update 2. I followed the advice from multiple commenters and examined our detailed phone bill for the past 3 months. What I discovered has completely shattered my understanding of my marriage and Rebecca's work commitments. Over the past 90 days, Rebecca has been calling and texting one specific number an extraordinary amount. We are talking about 45 to 60 calls per week, many lasting an hour or longer. The number is registered to someone named James Walsh. I did some research and found James's LinkedIn profile. He works as a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company, not Rebecca's medical device firm, but definitely in the same industry. His profile indicates he is based about 45 minutes from our city, and his background suggests he travels frequently for client meetings. What made my stomach drop was when I started cross-referencing Rebecca's claimed work trips with James Walsh's social media presence. His Instagram and Facebook accounts are public, and the location patterns are impossible to dismiss as coincidence. 3 weeks ago, when Rebecca went to Cincinnati for an important client presentation, James posted photos from Cincinnati that exact weekend. 6 weeks ago, Rebecca had an emergency client meeting in Columbus that required her to stay overnight. James was posting from Columbus the same day, checking in at restaurants and hotels. The timeline correlation was perfect and terrifying. But the smoking gun came when I decided to verify Rebecca's travel claims directly with her employer. Yesterday, I called her office and spoke with her assistant, claiming I needed to coordinate our family calendar around Rebecca's upcoming business trips. Business trips? The assistant said, sounding genuinely confused. Rebecca has not had any overnight business travel in about 2 months. She has been handling mostly local client calls and day meetings lately. My hands were shaking as I hung up the phone. Rebecca had told me she was going to Milwaukee just this past weekend for a medical device trade show. I immediately checked James's social media. He had posted multiple photos from Milwaukee that same weekend, including pictures of downtown restaurants and the convention center. That evening, when Rebecca came home from work, I decided to test her directly. I asked casually, "How was the Milwaukee trade show this weekend?" "Oh, it was fine," she replied, without any hesitation whatsoever. "Pretty boring vendor presentations mostly. I am exhausted from all the networking." She looked directly into my eyes and lied with complete confidence, as if she had been practicing the deception for months. What Rebecca did not realize was that her carefully constructed web of lies was about to collapse entirely, and the controlling husband she had been complaining about was about to take control of the situation in ways she never anticipated. I now understand why my simple requests for safety texts felt so threatening to Rebecca. She was not where she claimed to be, doing what she claimed to be doing. Every innocent question from me represented a potential exposure of her elaborate deception. I have been documenting everything, taking screenshots of James's social media posts, saving copies of our phone records, and creating a timeline that shows the clear pattern of coordinated travel and communication. My sister Sarah, who works as a marriage counselor, is driving up from Portland this weekend to help me figure out how to handle the confrontation. Part of me wants to confront Rebecca immediately, but I am worried she will simply deny everything and become more careful about hiding her activities. Another part of me thinks I should consult with a divorce attorney first to understand my legal options and how this evidence might affect custody arrangements for Emma and Jake. The children still have no idea anything is wrong. They keep asking when mommy will be home for dinner again since she has been working late so frequently. It breaks my heart to realize that their mother has been prioritizing her affair over family time for months. Edit. Many people are asking why I have not confronted Rebecca yet. Honestly, I am terrified. What if I am somehow misinterpreting the evidence, and I destroy my marriage over circumstantial proof? But also, what if I am correct, and my marriage has already been destroyed by her choices? Edit 2. Several commenters have emphasized the importance of documenting everything before any confrontation. I have been taking screenshots and organizing evidence, but I am not sure how much more proof I need. Edit 3. For those suggesting immediate confrontation, my sister Sarah advised me that how someone responds to being presented with evidence reveals everything about whether the relationship can be salvaged. I want to give Rebecca a chance to be honest before I make irreversible decisions. Final update: last weekend, I took Emma and Jake to stay with my brother Dave in Cleveland, telling Rebecca I needed some time to think about our relationship. In reality, I was preparing for the most important conversation of our marriage with help from my sister Sarah, who drove up from Portland to provide professional guidance. As a licensed marriage counselor, Sarah helped me understand that confronting a spouse about infidelity is less about getting confessions and more about giving them an opportunity to choose honesty before you make life-altering decisions based on the evidence you have gathered. Present the facts without accusations. Sarah advised me, give Rebecca the chance to come clean voluntarily. How she responds will tell you everything you need to know about whether your marriage can be saved. Tuesday evening, after Emma and Jake were safely asleep in their beds, I sat down with Rebecca at our kitchen table. I had organized 3 months of phone records, printed screenshots from James Walsh's social media accounts, and prepared a timeline showing the coordination between her claimed work trips and his travel patterns. We need to have a serious conversation. I began carefully. I know about James Walsh. The change in Rebecca's expression was immediate and telling. All the color drained from her face, and she sat completely frozen for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 seconds. I do not know what you are talking about, she finally said. But her voice lacked any conviction. I slid the phone records across the table toward her. You have called and texted this number over 400 times in the past 3 months. The number belongs to James Walsh. Rebecca stared down at the papers, and I could literally see her mind racing to calculate the best response strategy. He is a professional colleague, she said after a long pause. We collaborate on industry trends and market analysis. I placed the social media screenshots next to the phone records. James was posting from Cincinnati the same weekend. You had your client presentation there. He was in Columbus when you had that emergency meeting. He was in Milwaukee when you attended the trade show that your office says never existed. That was the moment Rebecca's defensive strategy completely shifted. Instead of continuing to deny the obvious evidence, she decided to go on the attack and make me the villain of our story. You investigated me, she said, her voice rising with righteous indignation. You violated my privacy and stalked some innocent person online. This is exactly the controlling, possessive behavior I have been talking about. Rebecca, I said as calmly as I could manage. Your own office confirmed that you have not had overnight business travel in 2 months. But you have been gone 4 weekends during that time period. So what if I have? She shot back aggressively. I am not allowed to have a personal life outside of this house. I am not allowed to have friendships without you monitoring every conversation and tracking my movements. I looked at my wife of 9 years sitting across from me, still desperately trying to make her deception my fault, and something fundamental shifted inside my chest. I asked you to send me a safety text when you traveled, I said quietly. You called me controlling for that request. But you were not traveling for work. You were meeting another man. Rebecca was silent for nearly a full minute, apparently realizing that her defensive tactics were no longer working. When she finally spoke, her words will haunt me for the rest of my life. You drove me to this, Michael, she said with cold conviction. You are so needy and suffocating that I needed to find someone who actually appreciates me for who I am. So you are admitting to having an affair, I stated rather than asked. I am admitting to having a meaningful relationship with someone who does not make me feel guilty for wanting to have experiences outside of our domestic routine. Rebecca replied without a trace of remorse. I asked her directly whether she wanted to work on saving our marriage, or if she considered our relationship over. Rebecca told me she had been emotionally disconnected from our marriage for over a year and wanted to explore where things might lead with James. She moved out of our house 3 days later, apparently confident that her new relationship would provide the happiness and freedom she had been seeking. The divorce proceedings officially began last week. Because I documented the affair extensively and can prove Rebecca's pattern of deception, my attorney is confident that I will receive primary custody of Emma and Jake. Rebecca seemed genuinely shocked by this outcome, apparently assuming I would simply accept whatever arrangement she preferred. What Rebecca did not anticipate was how quickly her affair would implode once it was no longer a secret excitement. James Walsh, it turns out, has been married for 12 years with 3 children of his own, something Rebecca claims she did not discover until 2 months into their relationship. When James's wife found out about the affair around the same time I did, he immediately chose to focus on saving his own marriage, rather than supporting Rebecca through our divorce. He has completely cut off contact with Rebecca and is apparently in intensive marriage counseling with his wife. Rebecca has been staying with various friends since James will no longer allow her to visit his house. She has also been struggling significantly at work because her job performance suffered dramatically while she was distracted by managing her secret relationship. Her supervisor placed her on a formal performance improvement plan last month due to missed client meetings and declining sales numbers. The children are handling the divorce better than I initially feared. They understand that mommy and daddy are not going to live together anymore, but they do not know the specific reasons why. Rebecca has visitation with Emma and Jake every other weekend, but she has already canceled twice because of work obligations that I suspect are really attempts to reconcile with James. As for me, I am discovering that I am stronger and more resilient than I ever realized. The uncertainty and gaslighting were actually worse than knowing the truth about what Rebecca had been doing. My neighbor Katie, who is a single mother herself, has been incredibly supportive during this transition. She brings dinner over sometimes and helps watch the kids when I have legal meetings or court appearances. The interesting thing is that Katie naturally texts me when she gets home from work or when she is running late picking up her daughter from daycare. She does this automatically, without me asking, because that is how caring people treat each other. That is when I realized just how abnormal Rebecca's aggressive reaction to my safety requests had become. Looking back at my original Reddit post, I can now see all the warning signs that I missed or dismissed. The defensiveness, the projection of blame, the way innocent questions became evidence of my supposed controlling nature. All of it was designed to keep me from discovering what she was actually doing. To the men who commented about their own experiences with wives who called them controlling while having affairs, you were absolutely right. When someone starts characterizing normal, reasonable requests as unreasonable behavior, it is usually because those requests threaten to expose something they are desperately trying to hide. The ultimate irony is that Rebecca's affair began around the same time she started calling me controlling. She created a narrative where I was the problem in our marriage, so she could justify her betrayal to herself and avoid taking responsibility for her choices. What Rebecca did not understand was that by calling my reasonable requests controlling, she was actually revealing her own guilt and deception. Her overreaction to innocent questions exposed exactly what she was trying to hide. Edit. Many people are asking about the specific custody arrangement. I have Emma and Jake with me Sunday evening through Friday morning, plus alternating weekends. Rebecca gets them every other weekend from Friday evening to Sunday evening, and 1 weekday evening per week. Since I have been their primary caregiver for 3 years and Rebecca has been traveling so frequently, the judge felt this schedule served their best interests. Edit 2. For those asking about Katie and whether we are dating, we are taking things very slowly and focusing on friendship right now. She has been an amazing support system as someone who understands the challenges of single parenting. Maybe something romantic will develop over time, but my priority is helping my children adjust to their new normal. Edit 3. Rebecca recently asked if we could try marriage counseling instead of proceeding with the divorce. I told her I would consider it if she ended all contact with James permanently and agreed to complete transparency about her activities going forward. She said those conditions were unrealistic and unfair. That response told me everything I needed to know about her priorities and commitment to our family.